You want to know the number one thing I've learned in trying to open up a pizza place? It's that all of the years that I spent trying to make pizza at home were absolute folly. The number one way that you get delicious pizza is by getting a commercial pizza oven. Just an extra 50 degrees Fahrenheit or an extra little bit of heat transfer efficiency from a more powerful convection fan. That's all you need to make really, really delicious pizza compared to what you can do at home. The best of what you can do at home is never going to compare to what you get out of a commercial oven. The caveat I would put on that is one of the newfangled uni-style outdoor pizza ovens that you can buy at home, hashtag not an ad. There's lots of companies that make that style of oven now, and those work really, really great. But in terms of getting a good pizza out of your indoor home oven, man, it's just, I'm telling you, I've tried it for so many years with so many ovens, it just doesn't compare to what you get from a commercial beast like our beautiful conveyor oven here at Status Dough Farragut in Knoxville, Tennessee. Well, west of Knoxville, Tennessee in Farragut. Just a recap for anybody who's new here, I'm Adam Ragusia, I'm an internet cook. I got famous on the internet making pizza at home, and I kind of regret that because, gosh, you just need a pizza oven, that's the secret. But anyways, yes, I'm going in on a new pizza venture, working with a donut place that I really, really love called Status Dough. They make beautiful, beautiful yeast donut dough. We're gradually going to bring pizza to their evening operations, so they'll have coffee and donuts in the morning, pizza in the evening, and we're starting with their location out in Farragut, which is a western Knoxville suburb. You should know that I'm going to end up with a minor ownership stake in this company going forward, but that's not the main reason I'm doing it. I'm doing it because I want to try to make pizza professionally and just see what it's like. Anyway, yeah, so here is the dough recipe that we have worked out. Here I am doing it at home with the same exact recipe, same exact everything. It's just going into my home oven, which is a really beefy convection oven. Got a pizza steel in there that has been preheating for quite some time. And by the time the cheese is looking really, really brown, like it might break soon and start hemorrhaging oil all over the top of the pizza, I have to take it out. Let's see, how brown is the bottom? Oh my God, not brown at all. That is pathetic. Here we go, exact same recipe in our beastly conveyor oven at Status Dough Farragut. Same exact recipe. Look at the difference. Look at that pizza. Look at that brown bottom. It's unbelievable. And it's especially surprising given that my home oven goes up to 550 Fahrenheit, theoretically. Our conveyor oven at Status goes up to 600, right? Not a huge difference, but it's a big enough difference to matter. Big enough difference to get the bottom of that pizza nice and brown before the cheese has time to split on top. I mean, we actually have had some splitting in that oven, and that's something that myself and Status Dough owner Joe Sieber, we've been working on in our weekly test bakes, because there's a lot of factors that you can control in an oven like that. It's not just temperature. You can also control the speed of the belt that conveys the pizza through the oven, and a tiny little click makes a really, really big difference on that little controller. So the difference between a 9-minute trip through and an 8.5-minute trip through is really, really big. So what that means is that we have two ways of getting more heat onto the pizza, slowing the belt or raising the temperature. And what we found is that raising the temperature tends to impact the cheese more so than the crust, whereas slowing the belt tends to impact the crust more so than the cheese. So what we've arrived at is backing down the temperature ever so slightly, but also backing down the belt speed so that we get a nice brown crust and the cheese doesn't get too hot on top. There, that one looks like about what we're gonna do. I mean, I think a little bit of splitting on the cheese is perfectly fine. In fact, nice even. It's sort of, anointed with oil. We've also made some decisions in terms of dough thickness, which we were really struggling with, and then also our approach to toppings. We've also started getting into some marketing stuff, which is going to be really important very soon. So yeah, I've been keeping busy in my semi-retirement from YouTube. Keeping busy is generally the best way that I can keep away the sads, but it has left me with less time to cook than I even normally have, and so that's why I've really been appreciating Factor, sponsor of this video. Factor is this phenomenal meal delivery service that requires no prep. They do not come frozen, they're just cold. You put them into the fridge. When you're ready to eat, you can reheat them in the microwave and they're done in 2 minutes. You can do them in the oven, they're done in 7 or 8 minutes, and oh my gosh, they do such a good job at Factor. Lauren and I have been blown away by the flavor of these meals that are high protein, healthy, reasonably portioned, great variety of vegetables and proteins, and of course, you can get vegan boxes, you can get keto boxes, lots of options for meal plans. hands. Like legit, this is as juicy as a chicken breast ever gets, and it's coming from a refrigerated prepackaged meal. I am blown away by what a good job they do. And Factor offers a lot more than just lunches and dinners now. They have breakfasts, they have snacks. They sent me some of this. This is a cold brew coffee protein shake. Plant-based. At this point, it feels like Factor is making products directly at me. Now, you know that I also do like to cook from a box. I like HelloFresh. In fact, HelloFresh actually owns Factor now. It's all the same company. Just a wider variety of options from these folks depending on what you want to do. Do you want to cook a little bit from a box, or do you want to cook not at all from a box and just heat it up and eat it? Both are good options. Head to factor75.com or click my link below and use my code RAGUSIA50. Get yourself 50% off your first Factor box and 20% off your next month of orders. That's code RAGUSIA50 at factor75.com to get your 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month of orders. Thank you, Factor. So anyway, last I updated you on the whole status pizza thing. Me and Joe were going back and forth on how thick we wanted our dough to be, because our dough is special. It uses 20% status dough yeast donut dough as its yeast starter. There's no sugar in that dough. It's just really yeasty and really rich. So there's butter and eggs in there, which is unusual for pizza dough. Lots and lots of natural cake yeast, beautiful stuff. We just mix it in with flour and water and we let it rise, and that is our dough. And it's really, really special, but I've felt that it shows its special qualities more when we bake it a little bit thicker. You get that sort of pillowy, almost donut-like texture in the center. But Joe and I both generally prefer thinner pizzas, and so we're sort of stuck between a rock and a hard place. And then we cracked the code. The secret isn't the thickness. The secret is how you mix the dough. The secret is that you take the donut dough, and then you take the normal just flour and water paste that we mix up, and then you just barely bring them together. You do not overmix. In fact, you want to see slight striations of yellow from the donut dough in your finished pizza dough. Why? Because it creates lamination points, just like in pastry making, where you have layers, distinct layers of fat versus flour. And so you get little fault lines, points where the dough doesn't quite come together or merge together, either in the rising process or in the oven. And then when you put it in the oven, those fault lines break apart and you get little pockets, flakes, I guess you could call them, like flakes from pastry making. Really, really light and airy pockets that translate whether the pizza is thick or thin. So we're going with thin. We're doing 200 grams for our basic small 11-inch pizza, 400 for our large 16-inch pizza. And that's a nice thin layer, keeps everything in balance in our minds, and we still get that sort of puffy, almost pastry-like texture in there from the donut dough that is going to make our pizza different from the next guy's pizza. All right, now toppings. I'm a big believer that toppings should be minimal in every sense of the word as it could apply here. The main event is the pizza. The topping is just a garnish. If you pile up too much stuff, it's going to start to interfere with the baking. The whole pizza is going to end up underbaked because you just added too much mass to the thing. And you're going to get the release of a ton of water from toppings, which is going to make the pizza soggy. Not good. So you want to use few toppings and you want to cut them really, really thin. Problem with that in a commercial context is that when you're charging people extra for a topping, they expect to see some of it, right? They don't want it to disappear into the pizza the way that I might want to when I bake a pizza for myself at home. They want to see it to make sure they got their money's worth. So we've been trying using slightly thicker slices of pepper or what have you, slightly thicker slices of mushroom, and just try to make it more visually apparent on the pizza, if nothing else, right? The problem is we get some water release. So we tried to do some cooking versus not cooking of toppings. Cooked up some peppers, cooked up some mushrooms, right? Tried baking them side by side on the same pizza. Cooked peppers versus raw peppers, cooked onion versus raw onion, that kind of thing. And we just kept coming back to the raw. The raw is just better every single time. The cooked stuff, the color is nasty and it comes out a little bit slimy. The raw stuff gets plenty cooked enough when it's in the oven. The key is just finding the exact right thickness of a slice of pepper to use, right? And the main solution that I found out, especially vis-a-vis peppers, is to use these really teeny tiny little sweet peppers instead of a big bell pepper. Those just cook up so much better on a pizza. There's just less flesh there to leak water into the pizza. And so you can still cut it a little bit thicker. I have to go a little bit thicker than we're doing there to make it more visually apparent. Sausage. You love sausage, don't you? Definitely found out that raw sausage on the pizza is the way to go, for sure. Pre-cooked sausage just comes out dry. You want little dabs of nice raw sausage. It cooks up beautifully in the oven, and it comes out with this nice crumble apart texture in your mouth, as opposed to the kind of little rubber ball that you get from pre-cooked sausage. The trick is, again, just putting on the exact right amount, because when you put on too much, you get tons and tons of fat leakage that people think is your cheese breaking, but it's actually just your sausage leaking. Hate that problem. The only topping that we're still considering cooking is the mushrooms, because when you pre-cook the mushrooms, you can do some garlic with them, garlic and olive oil and stuff, and wow, that really does improve the taste of the mushrooms. I don't know, there may be a way to split the baby there. Maybe we'll do like a garlic and olive oil marinade on the sliced mushrooms, but keep them raw and then put them on the pizza. We'll try that next test bake. We were hoping to open in October, and at this point it's looking like it's probably gonna have to be November, because there's just some physical plant stuff we need to deal with, just some improvements that need to be made construction-wise inside the kitchen before we can open to the public. And because this country doesn't have enough people going to trade school and learning how to do appliance maintenance and stuff like that, man, you have to wait so long to get people to come in and do that work. Kids, learn how to service refrigeration units. There's so much money there. In the meantime, we can think about marketing, which is the thing that Joe is really relying on me to do in terms of getting this new venture started. And so I've decided that what we need is some kind of image that can help us communicate really quickly and elegantly to the public that yes, Status Dough still has donuts. That's a brand that people here in Knoxville know. Status Dough still has donuts, but also now pizza. So I went to my friend Paris Woodhull, who is an excellent muralist here in Knoxville, and also does screen printing, t-shirts, bags, that kind of stuff. Beautiful, beautiful shop down on Gay Street here in Knoxville, Tennessee. Anyway, Paris specializes in these funky kind of anthropomorphic cartoon style drawings, and that's exactly what she brought to this particular project. So here's the first proof that she did for us. You know, little walking pizza dough. I love its funky little boots next to the walking donut. And from that point, it was really just a matter of finalizing colors. I really like this color palette that she did here with the yellow that's supposed to recall the sort of yellow dough of Status's yeast donut dough, which is just so special and delicious. But the more that we looked at it, the more we thought, and that blue, it's cool, but it doesn't look like food. There's something a little disturbingly non-food about it. And so we tried messing around with a few things, but this espresso color I thought was really, really great, because not only does it recall the color of the espresso that you can get from Status Dough in the morning, but it also recalls the color of the browned cheese on top of the pizza that you can get at Status Dough in the evening. I think that's gonna work really, really well. Last little tweak we made was to reserve the brown for the dots as opposed to the squiggles, because with the brown on the squiggles, it sort of looked a little bit worm-like, I thought. Yeah, brown dots, white squiggles indicating sort of, imperfections in the cheese layer. I think this is rad. This is gonna work so good. We can use this image in advertisements. We can get it printed up on t-shirts for the employees to wear to get the message out at Status that they're gonna be having pizza soon. That also means we're gonna have employees. We're gonna need someone to actually bake the pizza. Sometimes it's gonna be me, but most of the time it's gonna be somebody else, and maybe that's what we'll talk about next time we check in on this process of starting up a pizza place from almost scratch.